Commonwealth of Massachusetts, right off the top every year it's $500. You pay the Secretary of State. Automatically. Whether you make any money or anything, you automatically pay $500. So, I'm supposed to talk about entrepreneurship and what that means and what it means for you, what it means for all of us as we form cooperatives, as we try to turn a profit. And we think of the word entrepreneur, and I could put up the slide, but I'd rather just talk off the top of my head and kind of have this dialogue with all of you. When you hear the word entrepreneur, what comes to mind? What
Starting your own business.
Starting what?
Starting your own business.
Okay.
Right. But something creative or innovative.
Okay.
Trying to give an idea a shot.
Yep.
Someone who takes risks.
Risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's the difference? So then, what's the difference between an entrepreneur and, say, a cooperative? Are there things that are similar? Are there things that are repetitive, so to speak?
Well, I think of a co-op as just a group of organized entrepreneurs that are working together.
Right.
So an entrepreneur to me is kind of like a lone wolf, testing his idea or her idea in the wide world.
Right.
Like a co-op with maybe a bunch of people who have that attitude and perspective but are working it together.
Absolutely.
If you will.
And what's that?
Wolfpack.
A pack. Exactly, and that's what it is you're bringing, with the cooperative, we're bringing a group of people together under kind of one roof, one umbrella, that each person may bring a certain skill set to the table. Maybe someone's very good at finance and they want to do the bookkeeping. Or maybe someone's really good at the web design and they're good with the social media stuff, so they become your social media strategist and things like that. And then there might be someone who's really good at, guess what? Writing. So they become one of your persons that checks major newsletters. They apply for grants and things like that. Sometimes an entrepreneur does all those things, in a given day. Short, quick story. I'm an entrepreneur that works in the athletic footwear industry, sneakers. And it's one of those things where a lot of days I'm managing my books, when I'm doing some marketing, I'm working on my website, and I'm also working on designing a sneaker with a company maybe down the road like in New Balance, or maybe it's PF Flyers or Puma and Westford or whomever. So there's different things. I morph, right? I change. I have to. But with an yes, I didn't forget about you, Judy. Judy's reminded me that I owe her to get her some sneakers. So, when you think about forming a cooperative, and you do have to think about, and at some point we are going to get to the topic, not tonight, but in the future sessions, about what's the best business type you need to form, be it an S corporation, a C corporation, a LLC, maybe it's a sole proprietorship. You're going to start getting those definitions and how that works for you, and you're going to figure out the different structure that benefits you and your organization. Does anyone think they're going to form a cooperative and become an overnight millionaire? Yes? You think so?
Some night.
First rude awakening. You're better off going down the road to Foxwoods or up on Union Sun.
Donnie will show you.
Donnie will show you how to make it happen. No, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going into the idea of forming a cooperative to make a lot of money. You want to make a good living. You want to support yourself and support your family, things like that. But you also, a big part of it is doing good. Leaving an indelible footprint, and something that has a legacy. A lot of times with cooperatives, we think about it not just in the short term of like maybe a 5-year, 10-year plan. We're sometimes thinking a lot longer. We want to bring people into the fold, so to speak, and really teach and train. I mean, as part of, say, Future Focus's media, our cooperative is to teach youth photography and videography skills for lifelong skills. Because guess what? Once you have a camera, right? It's a phone, yeah, but there's a camera here. You can tell stories with this thing. Once you have a computer, you can actually build a business. again, figuring out what your strategy is. Maybe it is social media marketing. Maybe it is grant writing. Maybe it is website building. You know, the world has changed because of technology. Entrepreneurship used to have this, when people heard the term entrepreneur, they thought it was very, I'm sorry?
A banana kale shake stand.
Either that, or maybe a restaurant. You know, some people think about when they start a business. You know, we talked about earlier in terms of, you know, profits and loss and balance sheets, but you have to think about reserves. You know, a restaurant business. My family owned the restaurant business, and before even getting into the restaurant business, we had to make sure that we had 6 months reserves. You need to know that you can pay your employees and keep the lights on, so to speak, for 6 months. Because it usually takes that long to start turning a profit. Because you have to do some marketing, you have to pay for advertising, you have to buy your supplies, you know, all the necessities of running a business. You know, it's the same thing goes with a cooperative. You have to think about, you know, your good debt, as you asked Trina earlier, your good debt versus bad debt. You know, and it does. How does it affect? How does the cooperative eventually possibly affect you personally? Maybe at some point you do want to own a home. You know, and you think about FICO scores and, you know, things like that, because maybe you're carrying a lot of bad debt because your credit cards are maxed out. You know, but maybe you have student loans, which is considered a good debt, because that's what? An investment in you. Okay? Maybe you have a car that you own outright, that becomes a asset, correct? You can depreciate it as well. You could actually put it under your business at some point as well. Okay? Maybe because you have to drive, you can write off repair, gasoline, insurance, and some other things. And not all of it, but a portion of it. These are all things to think about as being both involved as an entrepreneur or being involved in a cooperative as well. Questions so far? You know, I'm giving a lot of real general things, but you know, all of us, believe it or not, all of you, all of us, we're all entrepreneurs in some light. We've all either sold a newspaper, we sold, help me out, Matt, what are the items called? Coffee and chocolate, and, right? That's a business.
Time to just quickly tell us what your sneaker business is?
Yeah, thank you. That was the question
Yeah,
that's been
I was
bugging me. How do you tackle? I mean, how do you be an entrepreneur and go up
in that
against the
world?
big? Well,
I get to work with all of them.
It's like a little dinosaur in amongst the big, you know,
Right.
Nikes and.
I do. I get to work with all the big companies, but not work for one in particular. That's what I like. So I basically am a consultant. I started off in marketing in terms of helping these companies sell their products through storytelling. Every pair of sneakers, every product that we have, that we use, that we own, is a story attached to it. There's an emotional connection. Why do you think people sleep outside to buy the new iPhone? Because of great marketing. Why do people sleep outside to buy the next pair of Mike Weir and Jordan sneakers when he hasn't played on the basketball court in over 12 years? Because of people like me. Storytellers, right? I got into that business not knowing the business even existed. I went to school for business administration. I thought I wanted to become a dean of a college. I started a master's in higher ed, decided to scrap that and do something else. My love of sneakers, though, and always being involved with athletics, I had a lot of sneakers. I studied the foot. I studied why people buy what they buy. And some friends and I, who we met online, started a publication called Soul Collective. Right? Started it, and we had no clue of publishing a magazine, but we did.
Is there a double entendre there?
Yes.
I just want to make sure you knew what you were
Yeah,
putting out there.
absolutely.
Okay.
And
Having fun.
it's on purpose. It is. It was done with purpose. It was done on purpose. So, and from that, I was able to segue my publication in creating this business because I figured out there was no such publication in the United States that wrote about the sneaker subculture. Why is it you see women who would go out and do, say, aerobics in the 80s and buy the Reebok Freestyle, aka the 5411? Or why isn't an avid runner would say bad to a Nike sneaker for an Adidas sneaker and choose a sneaker like a New Balance, or an Asics, or Brooks, or Mizuno. There's all stories.
I have a question. What would people think the differences and similarities of an entrepreneur and like an activist leader? You know, so like leadership in the activist sense and entrepreneur in the co-op business sense. What are some of the similarities and differences that you would see or other people?
The willingness to keep, to really believe in something and go at it 100% and not be willing to have someone talk you out of it. Because if I, you know, as an entrepreneur in the sneaker industry, if I listened to everyone who thought after 2 publications of the magazine I'd be out of business, I said, no, you're wrong. There's so many stories. As long as people have feet, people are going to buy sneakers. So having that ability to see, you know, kind of say, no, I'm going to keep going. Why not? Keep asking those questions. Being able to talk to any and everyone, be comfortable in your situation, but more importantly, comfortable with who you are, and saying, I am who I am. You know, I'm of this earth. I want to make something better because we all want to do the basic necessities of, you know, we want to be loved, we want to give love, take care of friends or family, things like that. So being able to kind of keep pushing through that, and that's what an activist does. An entrepreneur has to do that each and every day. He has to do that all the time. You know, I'm literally back there filming, but because I have a talk show in about an hour, a sneaker talk show, mind you, that I do using the power of the internet and Google, I go on the air and I broadcast a show. I have people already texting me, hitting me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, asking what the topics that we're going to discuss beginning at 9:30 tonight. And I have people from, I have over 5,000 viewers and I have over 1 million downloads. And I do that from my house in Vernon Hill.
Where's the show, like, where's the show gonna be located?
It's on the internet, it's on Google Plus. I use Google Plus and Google Hangouts. And we're gonna certainly get into that. But going back to what Matt was saying in terms of, you know, entrepreneurship and activists, they're one and the same. You know, because I get to do stuff with sneakers, I'm able to use it as a teaching tool. I did a presentation for Harvard University a couple years ago, trying to explain why sneakers are so important, not only to the business community, but more so the world at large. Because a lot of people that can't afford sneakers, and yet these multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies like the Nikes, Adidas's, guess what? They get to give away a lot of their product every year, or some of it gets scrapped because a mistake was made. Guess what? Those sneakers, those products could be used or better used to help those people who really need them. Every year, whenever the Super Bowl takes place, right? The t-shirts are printed up, the hats are all made prior to the Super Bowl. We know there's 2 teams. Every year,
Yep.
guess what?
Half of them don't get
Half of them get donated.
Sure.
The losing team's products end up in South America, Africa, and throughout the Caribbean. Every year, guaranteed.
So there's a level of disinformation going on in those countries because they think the wrong team won the Super Bowl. That's
The
amazing.
year the Giants, the Patriots lost to the Giants the first time, a number of their products ended up in the Dominican Republic. Don't you know someone from the United States went to DR and rebought or bought those products off them to bring them back and sell them because they're collector's items?
Wow.
Everything's become a collector's item. People right now are selling their iPhone 4 or 4S because guess what? The 5C or 5S came out. There's some people who have every Apple product because they're collectors. It's the same way with footwear, it's the same way with anything you think about, be it stamps, steins, articles of clothing, who knows what. Right? But entrepreneurship, being an activist, being part of a cooperative, they're all one and the same. You're going to do some of everything. You're going to wear multiple hats. You think about it. You do all wear multiple hats. You become the voice, you become the face, you become the marketer, you become the writer, you become the bookkeeper. Sometimes you do have to be the person that cleans up the mess at times too. You know, your product You know, sometimes you're slapping labels on, you know, the first time we published the magazine, I printed mailing labels and was putting them on magazines to drop them in the mail. Many of you, I'm sure, have done that with your hot sauce, right? Or will do at some point, right? You figure out what's the most cost-effective way to do this, and for the time being in the beginning, you're not going to pay some large company to run through a assembly line. You're going to do it yourself.
So Dee, I think that there may be different kinds of entrepreneurs, so it sounds like your entrepreneurial style or passion or commitment that your entrepreneurial commitment is based on passion for a particular
Product.
product
And
or
so it's
practice.
a part of my lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, it's
It
a
is.
practice, it's a product,
Yeah.
product that you love, and other entrepreneurs are in it to make a buck.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, maybe we need to make a distinction between kinds of entrepreneurs when we talk about the similarity between entrepreneurship and cooperatives. Because
You can, but I also believe you can do both. I believe as an entrepreneur, as a cooperative, you could be passionate about your product or your belief
Right.
and still turn a profit and do good with that as well.
But you don't need to be considered an entrepreneur.
Not at all. Not at
I mean,
all.
there are some who just are purely care less about the product. But
One of the best quotes I ever heard was from Warren Buffett himself. One time he was at a conference that I was attending, and he opened a can of Coke and he said, he said some crazy number. I think he said, like, basically, I just made the equivalent of $5 million. Okay? Opening a can of Coke. Warren Buffett owns a lot of stock in Coke. You know that. He actually still lives in the same house he and his wife bought more than 40 years ago in Nebraska. He still drives this Lincoln Concord that he's owned for more than 15 years, so yes, he's taken a depreciation on that. And he does not fly by private jet, he flies commercial. He does not fly first class. He's figured out for him what he needs. He's really figured out, he's made a lot of money. He's done a lot of good.
And he's giving it to,
And he's giving it
to invest
Bill.
in Bill, and he's giving it to the gate.
Correct. And one of the things he's trying to do is to share the wealth. That he's made a lot of money, and he wants to help others who are the entrepreneurial bug, but also the activist bug, to go do those things. And sometimes what they need is an infusion of cash or an infusion of brain trust of a group of people that can say, why do you want to do what you want to do? And these are suggestions, and this is how we can help you set up your business.
But he's also acting as a model for the people in his class, hopefully, who might be inspired to do the same thing. I mean, he's been outspoken in a lot of ways about, paying more of the tax burden because they're making so much money that they should be. And you know, I don't know if that's filtering down to the other people.
No, some people are just going in
At
one
least
ear
there's
after the next, yeah.
one voice in the wilderness.
Right. But there are different types of, entrepreneurs, and different types of
And there are
activists,
different
and different
types
types
of
of
co-ops.
co-ops. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
But I think there is a lot of overlap, and you can be a cooperative, be an activist, have a great product, whatever that product is, or service, and turn a profit. I do believe
And
that
try to
is
change the world.
all of the above. Absolutely.
And the system.
The system.
And
You could be here all night talking about the
undo
system.
and
You know,
undo the system.
it's that's all part of it. Absolutely. It certainly is. So I know. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That was interesting.
I'm sorry.
That was good.
Thanks.